Alright people, back again as promised with the second part of my CD collection. By now you all have a pretty good idea of what this is all about, so I'm just going to dive right in and start. The first album we have here is Virulent Rapture by Hecate Enthroned, UK black and death metal. Very, very, very good band. I actually got this particular album from from the band themselves. They were practicing at a local recording studio near me, and I wanted to pick this up from them. And I'm relatively good friends with the guitarist, so I got invited down uh, to hang out with them for a bit. And I bought this off them, and they were good enough to sign it for me. This is their first album since 2004's Redimus, and it's definitely a return to form. You know, they picked up right where they should have done, and these guys are really good. If you don't know who they are, you should check them out. They've been around for long enough that you should have an idea of who they are. But if you don't, check them out. Okay, next up we have Toxicity by System of a Down. This one is another album that's pretty self-explanatory, so I won't delve into much of an explanation. I'll just move right on to the next album. The Sacrament by Lamb of God. This is Lamb of God. They're not particularly my favourite band ever. You know, I kind of stopped listening to them around the time this came out. They were more of a sort of gateway band for me. They were a band that my friend showed me. He was like, "Oh, dude, have you heard of Lamb of God? They're heavy as fuck, and their drummer's incredible. You should listen to them." So I did, and I listened to them and thought, "Holy shit, this is incredible! What We Need in Hell is badass songs, and Redneck is fucking amazing." So I went out and bought this. I've had this for a long time, but although I may have stopped listening to Lamb of God around this time, but I did actually check out their latest album, and it's really good. It was definitely a return to form, and I think it was one of my favourite albums that dropped last year, which is quite something, I think. So good for you, Lamb of God. Now, this next album, I remember when it was released, and there was a huge buzz about it. I thought, oh my god, there was posters everywhere when I walked in on release day, and I thought I must get round to it, round to picking this up, and I did, and I'm quite kind of proud of it. And unfortunately, it was their final studio album after all of two. This is Women and Children Last by Murderdolls. I am a Murderdolls fan. I do enjoy them, although it's a bit lame that a lot of the Murderdolls stuff is re-recorded Wednesday 13 material, just with a different sticker on it. So that kind of got me a bit burnt out on Murderdolls and Wednesday 13 in general, but I still like them enough to have them in my collection. On the subject of Wednesday 13, I have Transylvania 90210. This was released in 2006, I believe. I like this. This is probably my favourite Wednesday 13 release next to Skeletons. This is I don't know. It's a good album, but it's nothing new. You know, it's Wednesday 13. It's horror punk, and that's kind of it, really. Okay, next up is The Great Southern Trendkill by Pantera. I do really enjoy this album, and although it's no vulgar display of power or Cowboys from Hell, it's certainly a lot better than Reinventing the Steel. Um, Suicide Note Part 1 and Part 2 are incredible, and I love the outro to Floods. They give me chills every time. Apparently, this came about at a kind of difficult period for Pantera because I think Phil Anselmo's heroin addiction was in full swing at the time of this coming out, and I think it really actually quite shows with the kind of anger in his vocals. And Drag the Waters is a really good song. I enjoy Pantera. They're I wouldn't say they're one of my favourite bands, but they are a band that I do enjoy listening to. Next, we've got my favourite album from this band. I really like this band actually. They're kind of a bit more alternative and a little less metal than some of the stuff in my collection. But this is White Pony by Deftones. I love Digital Bath. Abe Cunningham is an awesome drummer. I love the little nuances that he puts in his playing, and I like Digital Bath. It's one of my favourite tunes on this record, but this album in general and their first two are my favourites from Deftones, and I do enjoy Deftones quite a lot actually. Next we have Woods for the Green Album by Woods of Ypres. I actually recently got into Woods more. I mean, I'd always liked their older stuff, the more sort of evil black metal stuff that they're known for, but I really did like the direction they took with a more sort of gloomy, sort of doom approach. And I'm really sad that David Gold died. It was actually the anniversary of his death fairly recently. And so I put this album on in remembrance, and I do quite like this, although they really achieve what they set out to do, because I listen to like DSBM and general sort of sad music, but Woods are really the only band that actually make me feel bad when I listen to them. Although that's not necessarily a bad thing, though. But I do like Woods of Ypres, and this is one of my favourites from them. I enjoy it. Oh, we have another Woods of Ypres album. This is Woods 3, Deepest Roots and Darkest Blues. This was their last sort of death metal, black metal album, you know, with like the harsh vocals and things. Although I think the drums are very loud on this album. It's kind of distracting. They're kind of in your face and stuff. But I think that's just me. That's a sort of personal opinion on sort of taste and things. But I bought this from Earache because it was on sale. I picked this up during their Christmas sale, and I'm glad I did, because this is my favourite Woods album next to their first few. I really enjoy the Northern Cold. That was like the Woods track for me. Moving on, we're going a little more in the alternative direction here. We have Siamese Dream by Smashing Pumpkins. I love Smashing Pumpkins. Certainly their first few albums, they went a bit crappy after Adore. I don't really like their stuff, but up to Melancholy, Smashing Pumpkins are awesome. We have another Smashing Pumpkins album here. There's their first offering, Gish. This is my favourite Smashing Pumpkins album. I love this one. I Am One, Siva, Rhinoceros, Bury Me, Crush. This is the album that has not a single bad song on it. I can listen to this album from start to finish and not get bored. And it's really sort of grungy, dreamy, poppy, alternative, very 90s. I love it. I love it a lot. Oh, wow. Alright, this next album is from my favourite band of all time, bar none. These guys are my reason for playing music. You know, if I hadn't seen them on TV when I was 6 years old, I would not be playing music today. I have a lot to thank this band for, and they have been with me through a lot of difficult times. This is Mother's Milk by Red Hot Chili Peppers from 1989. Their first album with John Frusciante on guitar, after replacing their former guitarist Hillel Slovak after his tragic demise in 1988. This is a more heavy album. You know, it kind of abandoned the furious, fast-paced funk punk stuff of their early days and shifted a little more. Like the guitar tone is really a lot of distortion on it and stuff. You know, this has tracks like Good Time Boys, Higher Ground, Subway to Venus, Magic Johnson, Nobody Word Like Me. This is probably one of my top 5 Chili's albums, although it changes because what with them being my favourite band, there's a lot. I can talk about this for ages, so I'm not going to bore you. I'm just going to sort of move on. Next up, we have Antichrist Superstar by Marilyn Manson. I'm not the biggest Manson fan ever. I like his stuff up to, after Hollywood. So after sort of 2002, I've stopped really paying attention to Manson. Although I do enjoy this album quite a bit. It's a Marilyn Manson album. Oh, this is cool. This is going to be a plug actually for a local band, because these guys are from my neck of the woods. this is going to be a shout out to my buddies in Dirty Vertebrae. This is their We Do What We Want EP. I picked this up at their EP launch party back in July, I think. This is rap, funk, punk, reggae, ska, mishmash of everything. It is absolutely amazing. They're all really good musicians, and the lyrics are just cracking, and they're all super nice guys. So you should check these guys out on Facebook. Just search Dirty Vertebrae, and I'm sure they can hit you up with copies of the album. They have their music on Spotify, and you know, again, another shameless plug for a local band keeping the local scene alive. These guys are cracking. I love them. They're such a fun live show too. So if you can, check them out. Now, returning to the more evil black metal side of everything, we've got Atera Totus Sanctus by Dark Funeral, an album that I picked up purely for the album cover. Because, I mean, look at this. The album artwork is insane. Now, I like Dark Funeral. I'm a big fan. 666 Voices Inside is one of my favorite Dark Funeral songs. I think it was the first one I heard, actually. But this is badass. I love this album. Alright, the next few we have, this is another from Hecate Enthroned. This is their second album, Dark Requiems and Unsilent Massacre, from 1998, I think. This was the first album to feature my friend Andy on guitar, and this was their last album to retain the dark, cold, black metal stuff. This was the last album to feature their original vocalist, John Kennedy, who was a former member of Cradle of Filth, I believe. I think he played bass for them in '95. I could be wrong. This is just what I've read online. This is really good symphonic British black metal. This is the quintessential, very stereotypical English black metal. This is the sound of English black metal. These guys in Cradle of Filth were the two biggest names in black metal in the UK around the time that they came out, and they are just fucking great. They're one of my favourite black metal bands, and I'm proud to, know them and be friends with them. Next up, we have The Eerie Cold by Shining. This is album number 4. Depressive suicidal black metal from Sweden. I believe they are the pioneers of DSBM. I think this features Hellhammer from Mayhem on drums, which is interesting. This is the first Shining album I actually ever heard, and it was the first one I ran out and bought. I bought it directly from the band themselves, and their shipping was excellent. But this is a less black metal, straight up black metal album. This relies on more sort of ambient passages, more sound bites, and more sort of tortured screaming rather than the standard black metal formula for songs. This is the first really experimental Shining album that they put out, and I actually really enjoy this, and the album cover is really creepy. Next we have another album from Hecate Enthroned. This is their debut EP. This is Upon Promethean Shores, Unscripted Waters. This is a combination of their demo tape. This was their first release on Blacken Records, distributed by Plastic Head. This, again, it's the more gothic. The keyboard was a lead instrument, more or less, in this album and in this band. That's what kind of separated them from other bands at the time. They used the keyboard as a lead instrument a bit more. And this also contains one of my favourite Hecate Enthroned tracks, To Feed Upon My Dreams. This is really good, really cold, pagan black metal from England, and it's just really good. Check it out, please. Alright, we have 3 albums left, and then I will be out of your hair for a while. This is Hecate Enthroned's debut album, The Slaughter of Innocence, A Requiem for the Mighty. This is my favourite Hecate album ever. The title track of which is just, it's amazing. Like there's a certain section in it, and the guitar riff kicks in, and it just gives me chills. And I love this album so much. Beneath the December, Twilight, The Spell of Winter Forest, The Haunted Gallows at Dawn, Christfire. This is again another start to finish album that is incredible. Yeah, I love it. And this was also really hard to find because since Plastic Head Records went out of business, Hecate and Throne's older stuff has been like gold dust to find. I hunted for this album for years and I finally managed to find it and buy it, and I'm not going to tell you how much I paid for it because it even makes me feel a little bit sick, but it was definitely worth it. This is an awesome album. There was a lot of comparisons in the early days that these guys were branded a Cradle of Filth ripoff, but I think that the two bands are separate and they have enough separating qualities for them not to be a rip-off of each other. I mean, I like both bands. I like both Hecate and Cradle of Filth. I don't think either band ripped each other off in any way, but I treat them separately and they're both still really good bands, and you should check them out. I've said that about 5 times, I think. I'm really sorry for repeating myself. It's like 3 in the morning, and I figured it would be a perfect time to shoot a video. So more for me. Alright, next up is another album I'm probably going to get some shit for, but I don't care. I think I've got 2 copies of this, actually, because I got them when I was really young. This is Sonic Firestorm by Dragon Force. UK power metal. Dragon Force get a lot of shit, and I probably will too for having them in my collection. I can almost hear you guys sweating over your keyboards typing. That's not metal. Right, this is the last album, and it's another one we've seen a lot of from this band. This is Redimus by Hecate and Throne, their final album with their second vocalist, Dean Seddon. This is another more black metal, more death metal flavored than their previous stuff. I actually only need one more Hecate and Throne album, that's Kings of Chaos from '99, until I have their entire discography. These are, again, they're like gold dust to find. So I'm super happy that I finally managed to come away with them. My favourite track from this album is As Fire. I actually sat down and learned it on drums after I came back from watching them rehearse it, so they kind of inspired me to do it. I may post a cover of it up on YouTube when I get enough drum mics and stuff. But yeah, I can't really talk too much anymore about this band because I've pretty much said everything there is to say. So I am going to leave it at that because we're clocking at almost 18 minutes in length, and I did say I'd try and sort of condense them a little bit. But thanks for watching, guys. I hope you enjoyed it, and I'm sorry for tripping over my words so much. I never edit my videos, so you're probably going to get all of this when you watch it. Please bear with me. There will be more videos to come, and like, comment, subscribe, tell me what you think. And I'll see you next time. Cheers.